For a while there, in the first part of the new millennium, the generation gap was pretty much assumed to be dead. People in their 40s shopped in the same clothing stores as people in their 20s, and listened to the same sort of music. If you were on the left, you all cheered for animal rights, and everyone from those in university dorms to the corner office had the posters of global warming, and all ages were engaged in common political struggles. You'd go to a concert and there'd be a finance dude there in his 40s wearing the same Urban Outfitters jeans as the kid in their 20s, and everyone from the 19-year-olds to those high 37-year-olds leaving the dinner parties would end up at the same late-night bars. This, of course, is a seismic shift in intergenerational relationships. It means there is no fundamental generation gap anymore. This is unprecedented in human history. And it's kind of weird. For the younger generation, how to rebel? How to mark yourself as different? Did age even mean anything anyway? If you were a 5-year-old 10 years ago, being rocked to sleep by your hipster dad singing you Arctic Monkeys, then you'd be 17 now. There is a generation gap, just not in the way that we imagined it. It's not about style. It's not about taste in music. It's about language and battles over inclusivity, diversity and power structures. And it's a whole lot more complicated and confusing than the generation gaps of yore, where the olds were horrified at the Beatles and their long hair. A new conflict? Boots on the ground, what does the new generational conflict look like? There is an ideological conflict brewing between the old guard and the new kids on the block. The generation of young people who came of age during the new millennium, millennials, as they're commonly known, has divided opinion like no other. Some have deemed them a self-pitying and entitled bunch, lazy, deluded and narcissistic. Others take a more sympathetic view, raising concerns that millennials are at risk of becoming a lost generation. After all, they are making the transition into adulthood under much more precarious circumstances than their parents experienced as part of the baby boomers generation. The challenges millennials face include the rising costs of education, an increased likelihood of unemployment and underemployment, even for a growing number of graduates, and falling incomes even when they are employed. For millennials, home ownership is an increasingly distant prospect, and private rents are soaring. To top it all off, young people have been hit particularly hard by benefit sanctions and cuts to public sector funding. Since the global financial crisis, the supposed plight of the millennials has given rise to the argument that inequality is an age-related issue. Young people are disadvantaged, while baby boomers collectively prosper at their expense. With austerity and weak economic growth ensuring that the opportunities for younger people are comparatively diminished, even academics are raising the issue of youth as class. We are facing the changes. We don't deny that the experience of being young has changed significantly. But this notion of a single millennial experience deserves some serious questioning. While young people are encountering changes, and often challenges, in terms of employment, education and housing, they do not all experience this hostile landscape in the same way. By talking about the millennials as a disadvantaged group, we're in danger of obscuring other, more fundamental differences between young people. For example, class background is still a particularly important determinant of a young person's life chances. Our own research, as well as the work of many others, demonstrates the importance of parental support for young people transitioning into adulthood. Having a room in the family home or access to other family finances is key to undertaking unpaid internships or volunteer work. A monthly allowance from your folks while at university facilitates access to important CV building activities, which top graduate employers seek from applicants. It ensures that during your exams you don't have to carry on looking for a job, and it helps you to avoid the choice between eating or heating. Gifting or loaning deposits for a rented or purchased home is still a middle-class practice. There are many other ways that parents can, and do, use their resources to help their children onto the property ladder. There is a class struggle going on. So, while middle-class young people are clearly facing difficulties during their transition to independence, they are also more likely to have access to resources that are unavailable to their less advantaged peers, which help to reduce risks and protect them from uncertainties. These resources help young people to weather the storm and influence who survives and prospers in the current conditions. Let us recall some other significant class-based advantages. Higher education remains very stratified, and those attending elite research-intensive institutions are disproportionately middle class. Children of middle-class parents earn more than peers of working-class origins, even when they obtain employment in top jobs. And while baby boomers may be holding onto the housing stock for now, the children of the property-owning middle classes will one day inherit it.